I have one already, but. I agree. I think I'll just, yeah. I'll to water now. Spoil myself. I'm here in the office where I just. We're all set, Nicole. We have quorum.
Okay.
And the video started.
All right. So we will call the meeting to order at 12:03. And I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robertson, Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Bawating. Bawating is the home of Garden River First Nation, Machiawana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. So first off, we will have adoption of the minutes. Is there any issues with them that anyone noticed? And if not, can I have a mover to adopt them as presented?
Stephanie moves them, Nicole.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And a seconder. Sarah. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Next, do we have any declaration of pecuniary interests? Nope. Perfect. So then we have the adoption of the agenda. If there are no changes or additions to it, then I will ask for a mover and a seconder. Sarah moves, or do you have a question?
No, it's just I'm moving.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And a seconder.
I can second that.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. All right, so now we are moving on to business arising. We have an update on the museum bell. So unfortunately, our conservationist at the Sioux Museum has found another job. So she is now only working at the museum 1 day a week. So that really limits what she's going to be able to do in terms of conserving both the cenotaph and the museum bell. So right now we're looking at other options. And so with Virginia, we're looking at, is there other funding we can get to maybe get another conservationist who will be able to work full time on it, because working 1 day a week on it will be very difficult. However, in regards to the sort of little carriage house we have for the bell, I would suggest going forward with that, because that will be an extra step of preservation for the bell, because right now, as the patina on the bell has been damaged, that's sort of that protective layer on it. It is more susceptible to damage from the elements. If you actually go there and you look at the concrete base, you can see sort of that green ring below it, and that's showing that the elements have started to affect it, and that's like the corrosion and other stuff coming off of the bell. So by building that carriage house, you're protecting it from the elements, and also the hopefully a little bit more from vandals. So at least if we go forward with that, we know that that will be a first step in really ensuring that the bell will be protected.
Just, I also have some updates, Nicole. So Alex reached out, and he could speak to the opportunity with the school to potentially build the structure. but we also still have to secure the funding. As discussed at the last meeting, we had talked about, you know, making sure that it, if we are gonna do anything and go through, when we're going through the conservation efforts, we need to make sure that it's not gonna have future vandalism. So we don't have any, plexi or, Lexan that's in stock that would be suitable for an outdoor application. The plexi would have to be thicker. We have really thin sheets. So when I spoke with our carpentry department, they made a recommendation to go with 1/2 inch thick. 4x8 sheets of the 1/2 inch thick plexi run just over $1,000 a piece. So if you did a 4x8 sheet on each side, it's 4,000 plus the construction of the frame. Depending on what you make that frame out of, if it's metal versus wood, you're looking at probably, I think, 6,000 to 7,500 just for enclosing it to protect it from future damage, in addition to the cost to build the cupola and restoration.
Hi, can I comment? Yeah, I'm wondering, we would also be able to get a breakdown on our end, like from Superior Heights. Would that help to have a couple quotes?
Like I got 3 quotes on plexi. That was the $1,039 was the cheapest one pre-tax. So that's the cheapest quote just for that material alone. And then you have to make sure you have whatever frame can hold it, because that'll then get screwed into the actual cupola structure. But yeah, I didn't want to have the teachers go through having to quote everything out, because they did price out materials in the original proposal. So I thought that's a base point for the materials for the cupola, and then this is the extra that wasn't covered off in that original proposal as suggested by the committee. But I mean, we can
Okay, thank you.
provide a quote. I just didn't want them to spend a lot of time in it until we actually secured a funding source for this.
Okay, I just know that, you know, if Superior is going to build it, I'm sure they have an opinion. I'm just wondering what their number would be, not hearing yours. I don't know.
Sure, yeah, I'm fine with that, Alex.
Okay, thank you.
It would be 1/2 inch thick plexi that would be required, the Lexan yellows in the sun.
Okay, awesome. So are we kind of leaving off from that last price point? Or are we talking about the price now?
Sorry, as far, so, just, or for the overall project, or just for the construction to protect it from future damage?
I guess both. So yeah, the construction of the encasement to protect from further damage, and in addition to the cost of restoration. Like, do we have budget for that?
We haven't secured a budget source for that, so in the last discussions, the museum had indicated that, you know, that the structure is technically owned by the city. So it's a city structure, and that they didn't want to necessarily incur any additional costs out of the museum's budget. So I had an opportunity to speak with finance, and technically as a municipality, we wouldn't be applying to that pot of funding. So the $12,000 in grant funding, as a municipality, we won't apply to take that away from the property owners that could apply. So really that leaves us a capital request in 2025. So we'd have to put a request in through the budget process, which would get approved in the fall of 2025. Requesting funds to build the structure as well as restoration. Or we would have to look at doing a report to council to request those funds to be reallocated from already approved capital projects at the museum, have it reallocated to this project. So those are kind of the two avenues that we're left with right now. So it's just trying to figure out, and if Layla, conservationist, is unable to proceed with the project, then additional quotes would have to be obtained in order to see what that cost is going to end up being, because whatever I'm taking to council, once it's approved, we need to make sure that we're asking for the appropriate amount of money to make sure the project can proceed.
Oh my goodness. Okay, great. Yeah, it sounds like the big dig in Boston or something, you know, we're gonna go over budget. So the two avenues, I'm hearing two different timelines. The first avenue sounds like it would be sort of stalled at least until funding could get approved in fall 2025. That's next fall. Not this fall, but next fall?
So this coming fall in 2025, we would put a budget request in. That would be approved through the procedure, which happens usually late November, early December. So at that point, we would find out if that's something that's going to be funded or not. So they would make a determination if it's approved or not approved during the budget process, which means it would be a spring 2025 project if approved.
If approved, okay. And that was the first avenue. And then the second avenue is possibly going to council for maybe just to further kind of bring the timeline a little closer. Because how it sounds now, it's not something that the second semester grade 12 students at Superior Heights, they're not going to be able to tackle this project in this school year.
Probably not, depending on, like, there may be a portion if we could find some money just for those materials and leave the Lex in, or sorry, the Plexi out. But yeah, the timing becomes definitely a challenge from a school standpoint, as well as getting approvals for funding to have the restoration and then have it protected, right?
Okay, and then I had just one more question. Being presented both those avenues for funds, is there an opportunity for us to fundraise? What does that look like in a committee like ours?
I'd have to check and see. Usually the projects that the city's fundraising for are usually approved projects by council. So an example, a recent one would have been the downtown plaza, and the donors and the fundraising was approved. So then staff were able to go out and do that fundraising. GoFundMe page wouldn't it? Yeah, so I'd have to take a look to see how that could look, Alex.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll look into the possibility of fundraising with the hopes of maybe for getting that timeline closer to a project for our school and for the community. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and just there was a clarification question asked. For the budget process, this year we would be asking for funds. So during the 2024 year, they'll be approving 2025 capital.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, so are we all good to move on to the next item? All right, so that is Heritage Week. And we've decided on the theme of celebrating local heritage properties. So I have contacted the Old Stone House, the Bush Plane, and they're sort of all a go for participating in Heritage Week. The Bush Plains contribution will be Family Day. That's their big, huge um, day already that they have a whole bunch of events going on, which is good because they're one of the few ones that are actually open on a Monday. Kathy's gonna be sort of doing stuff throughout the week. She'll have some more of the heritage property sort of panels posted in the Heritage Discovery Center. And then the museum is going to be doing a discount day on Friday, and we'll be having some of our partners there to talk about sort of some cultural and community and sort of other projects that they have going on, which will be good for families to participate in later.
I also had an opportunity to talk to the library, so there'll be displays going up at each library location. And they're also going to do a special book display, which will feature local heritage properties and other items.
I did also say, Virginia, did you have more of these heritage property books that the Municipal Heritage Committee published?
Yes, yep, I have some of those that we can use to distribute.
Yeah, because I was wondering if the museum could get a bunch so that we could hand them out.
How many do you think you'd like, Nicole?
Uh, a whole bunch because we want to hand them out normally too, because sometimes people ask about the book still and are looking to get them.
Okay, what would be the best time? I can have somebody drop them off this week.
Anytime we're there from 10 to 4.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so is there any other questions, comments, concerns about Heritage Week?
I'm looking forward to the Bruce Coburn signing on Sunday.
Yes. Yeah, that filled up pretty fast and is really popular. All right, so subcommittee task forces, we have the heritage trees. So we are still trying to find a date to meet. Is there any other updates, Virginia?
No, we've been, so the committee knows, like, how many doodle, I think I've sent out a few doodle polls. I'm trying to be able to get a date where everybody was able to attend. I haven't been able to secure a date yet, so I put it on hold a little bit. We will have hopefully new committee members appointed, so I believe that's going to be going to council hopefully within the next few weeks. So I thought maybe at that time we can see if anybody else that may be joining might be interested, and then we can still try to work on getting a date set. So it's just been a little bit of a challenge trying to fit that into everybody's schedules.
Yeah.
Virginia, sorry, are the applications for joining this committee open online?
They were posted over Christmas, and then they extended it a little bit into January because they I believe the response wasn't as great. I think it got lost with everything that was happening over the holidays. So if the application period had closed.
Well, it just closed on Friday, February 2nd.
Yeah.
Ah, too bad. I had a friend that reached out asking about the committee, and I suggested it, but okay.
Okay. So next we have new business. So this is a request for support for museums, movable cultural property designation. The background information regarding the designation process and movable cultural property. And so you can find more about that in the package that Virginia handed out.
So this also ties into correspondence. And we received some correspondence from Will from the museum. He wanted to know if the Municipal Heritage Committee wanted to assist with the museum seeking the designation for movable cultural property. So I did a summary providing some background on exactly what that process was and what it meant. So I included that in the package. It gives a bit of an overview as to who can apply, and then kind of an assessment tool working through who should apply, and it kind of goes through a number of questions based off of there's two types of entities, so you could be an institution, or you could be a public authority. So in this case, the museum would fall under the institution category. And yeah, it just goes through those types of questions. And I'm not sure, when I did the assessment, Nicole, and you may have additional information on this. When I did the assessment, it didn't necessarily match up to some of the assessment criteria. So, but I'm sure you have additional information that you can share.
Yeah, so I haven't looked too much into it right now. But all the classifications on the property, we meet all of those. And so I think what Will is also sort of looking at is if we get the building designated, so the museum, then that could possibly also help us get funding for the bell. And so this designation has just been something he's been looking at getting, just generally for the museum, just as another sort of protection for our history, but also this might also lead into a bit more funding that we could look at for the bell, possibly.
Yeah, and I don't know how what the funds are available for restoration. When I did look at the first part of the grant, it was grant money to say move an object or share an object with another cultural institution. So if you had, for example, if the art gallery had a piece of Group of Seven art that they wanted to share with another art gallery, they can apply for grants to do that type of sharing from one location to another. I didn't see anything that was related to restoration, but again, I just did a review of it. I didn't get that deep into the different types of grants. I did work through the assessment tool just to see where, what that is. I guess the difficulty that I was having with it is that, I think it'd be great if the museum, wanted to pursue applying for it. If it meets the criteria after they went through the full assessment. I'm just not sure the role that Will is looking for the Municipal Heritage Committee to play in the application process, since they're the stewards of the artifacts.
Yeah, so I think he was just looking at it sort of just as a partnership to sort of just continue working together, but also because the museum building is one of our designated heritage properties and stuff like that. So it's sort of kind of like our building too. Just so that if like the Municipal Heritage Committee has any concerns about the designation process or anything like that, or if it's all okay, like we'll just go through. I think he just more so wanted to keep the committee in the loop with what was going on and stuff. So is there any other questions, comments, concerns about that? Okay. So then, that sort of has led us into the correspondence. So then I guess it's just our next meeting is on March 6th, 2024. And can I have a motion to adjourn? Sarah, and a seconder.
I can second.
Perfect.
Oh,
Alex.
Alex.
All right. So thank you everyone so much. And see you next month.
Bye. Have a great
Take
day.
care.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.